So Okoro, I know, has gotten a lot of buzz about a possible pick. And I'll give you the pros and cons. Like, the pros are the Knicks need toughness, right? They need defense. They can just bank on Okoro being one of those guys who's probably going to stick in the league forever just by making life difficult for opposing wings and forwards. And, good locker room guy, and just, again, total toughness. I talked to a scout yesterday who is like, somebody's going to reach on him, just like they did with Justice Winslow on the intangibles. And like, you love his energy and his defense, but the track record of players who shoot below 30% from three and 70% from the line, the track record of them improving as shooters is really bad. But I think he really has to make a lot of improvement offensively to hold enough value offensively. I mean, one of the reasons I like Okoro offensively, he shoots 60% inside the arc. He doesn't really take bad shots. He's a very good finisher around the basket. But for a wing player, a perimeter guy, he doesn't really create much. And he doesn't really score off the dribble away from the basket. And he's not really stretching your defense. Him and Barrett next to each other.
Brutal. I said it's in New York bricks, man. That's gonna be tough to watch.
If you're building around Okoro and RJ and Mitch, you really have to fill the gaps with like the perfect puzzle piece shooters to make it work. And so I just had too many problems with Okoro. Even though I said best player available, like, I don't think he's the type of guy where Okoro is a lot more attractive if he goes to a good team, like Draymond Green. Is, you put him in Golden State and suddenly you have this star 5-tool type of guy. But you put Draymond Green on the Knicks, and we're probably not talking about the same Draymond Green.
Man, I like him as a defender. I think he provides like that toughness that I think Knicks fans will like. No matter how great of a defender he is, if he can't knock down shots, then he becomes a liability. I just think like the NBA is so different now. Maybe 10 years ago, a guy like that who doesn't provide a lot of offense could still come in and start and play a valuable role on the playoff team. Like, like a Tony Allen or Andre Roberson, Oklahoma City. But in today's NBA, I don't think a team can go far with a guy that doesn't bring anything on the offensive end, because they'll just, just the defense is different. There's such a big emphasis on scoring.
Yeah.
And there's so many more possessions now. But I think if he can just knock down the corner three, it opens up a lot for his game. I think that he's a pretty good ball handler. I think he's a good decision maker. But for him, there's different levels to it. Like, if you watched his film, he was not confident at all as a shooter. Like, there was times where he had open threes and he didn't want to shoot, or he would pass up an open shot and draw a charge because he just didn't want to shoot, or he would pass it to a teammate that was covered. I think he can knock down shots and he becomes a weapon. I do think that Luguentz Dort, the way he defended James Harden in the playoffs, may have helped Okoro stop.
Yeah, a lot of people thought that when they saw Dort go off that night.
Yeah, I mean, even just before the Game 7, the fact that he was able to move his feet, he was able to stay with James Harden, who is, arguably the best offensive player in the NBA right now. He was able to absorb contact. I mean, think about how many times you switch the guard on Harden and Harden just runs through them.
Yeah.
And the guy can't take the contact, or you take a bigger wing and then Harden just blows by him. Dort was able to match Harden step for step, absorb the contact, and he just kind of made things a little difficult for him. But, if Okoro can just be like 33% three-point shooter, then I think he can help the team out, just because he has what you can't teach.
Right.
I think you can help a guy become a better shooter, but it's hard to turn the guy into that type of aggressive, physical defender, because it's a mindset.
True story.
Overall, he's probably the best athlete in the draft. He's 6'6", 225. I mean, he really looks like a football player. Jumps out of the gym. Just overall, great athlete, and can defend everybody. I mean, I think he can defend 1 through 4. In some cases, the 5. Obviously, we saw the Rockets playing PJ Tucker's as a 5. But yeah, just great athlete, good kid. Offensively, I think his game is somewhat simple, but at that stage in the draft, I think he'd be too good to pass up. I've got the first 6 guys kind of their own tier, so the Knicks are right after that tier, and I think they need talent, so they need to probably go with the best player available. And for me, with this simulated mock draft, Okoro is that guy.
We have a lot of guys not shooting well on the Knicks, including Kevin Knox, Frank Ntilikina as well. What do you think about that fit with those two on the wing, given the shooting deficiencies with that Okoro brings to the game.
Yeah, I thought about that exactly. I mean, that's definitely somewhat of a concern. Obviously, RJ's outside shooting is still a work in progress, and that's definitely Okoro's swing skill. And again, it just came down to I think the Knicks can go in a lot of different directions because they've got still somewhat of a blank canvas, even though they've got a couple nice young pieces. Again, Okoro, it's one of those deals, that talent's there, and I think it's probably a situation probably shouldn't overanalyze it too much.
I mean, this guy, as you said, is a Swiss Army knife. A guy that can play multiple positions. The motor is off the charts. Finishes well. Obviously finishes well. And from what I read, his passing ability is underrated as well.